concerning all things Taeler. And I love that. And this is one of those instances. So when I was full-time wrestling, and I was on the road, like, more than I was home, basically, I used to have to do some things to try to keep my mental health in check. You know, that's very important when you're being a competitor, a pro athlete. You know, everybody wants your spot. You're trying to fight for a spot. You're not trying to step on toes, but people are willing to step on your toes. It's a lot of toxicity in industry, okay? And, you know, there's just a lot of stuff going on. And so one of the things I used to do is I always used to carry a book of Seussisms by Dr. Seuss that had a lot of inspirational quotes. I also had a notebook full of, like, I called it my promo notebook, which is a tool that I had picked up from Kevin Kelly, because I went to a ton of Kevin Kelly seminars the first 8 years of my career. I think I went to 3 or 4 of his seminars for, like, promo work and stuff. Me and one of them, it was Sasha Banks and I. So, I mean, he's been doing those for a while. This was like before we were both signed. So, I got a lot from him, actually, as far as, like, building characters and promos and television and presence and the it factor. It was so cool. I remember him telling me, I don't know what it is, but I know you have it. Whatever it is, I know you've got it. And that was just, like, such an amazing thing to hear, you know, especially somebody who struggled with self-belief and things like that, and confidence and everything else. So it's like such a complete departure from who I am today. It's very interesting to kind of firsthand experience that journey. So I had this promo notebook, and it had, like, quotes, you know, if I ever needed inspiration for a promo on the fly. And it also had, like, positive notes that I would pick up and write to myself in times of doubt or struggle or whatever, in times of adversity, basically. And I actually found that notebook recently because I had to take it out of my bag when I replaced my bag after an airline broke it. And so I wanted to share some of those with you. And also, in case any wrestlers are listening, these are some ways that you can be prepared for almost anything. All right. So not only did I have my Seussisms book to kind of put me in a positive mental headspace, I also had a coloring book and crayons, because when you kind of go back into a childhood joy, it actually makes you calm and centered, and you actually perform better under stress, which has actually been scientifically tested and proven. And then I also had this, like, positivity as well as quotes for promos. So I was always ready, like, always. Okay. So these are some positive vibes that I wanted to share with you as part of motivation this week, okay? I like to call it Motivation Monday because I like to think that you start your week off right, and then if you're listening to this obviously on Tuesdays, it continues you through your week. So that's kind of my mojo, you know, and that was one of the main inspirations behind the Talks with Taeler Hendrix podcast, was getting people in on conversations to help us all be a part of someone else's survival guide. Because I feel like at some point in time, we've all been like, wow, I feel like I do not have the tools necessary to deal with this. Like, I do not have the mental capacity to understand what's going on right now and how to deal with it. You know, there's a lot of situations that are thrown at you that you aren't necessarily prepared for. And sometimes, you know, you can hear something for years and it kind of just goes in one ear and out the other. And then there's this moment later on where you hear it again and it just hits different. It's because you've had experiences, you've had different things, you're a different person than you were the first few times you heard it. And that's why it hits different and it inspires differently. And so that's one of my goals here. So these are all quotes that I wrote to myself that I had either seen or came up with. One of them was, you can't, and I've said this before on a lot of different platforms of mine, you can't do epic shizit with basic people. So pay attention who you're around. All right. Another one I said is, you have a limited time on this planet. Do not spend it being a watered down version of yourself to make other people like you. Another one I wrote is, love yourself instead of loving the idea of other people loving you. That was huge for me. Based on the way I grew up, I was always such a huge people pleaser. And the more I tried to please everybody else, the less and less and less I was my authentic self. And that doesn't mean I wasn't kind, gracious, or humble, or positive. It just means I was giving away pieces of myself that other people didn't deserve to be a part of, you know, in that sense where like you pour your all into a project, or you pour your all into a job. I was doing that a lot. And I wasn't putting enough into myself to be a better version of me, to be a healthier version of me, a more enigmatic version of me, so forth and so on. Another one I wrote to myself was, while you've been doubting yourself, someone else has been admiring your strength. Why not you? And that's a great question. Why not you? You know, we always look at other people and think, we see somebody and we're like, wow, that person has it all figured out. That person's got it so together. That person is so stunning. Look at them just winning in life. And we never kind of stop and look at ourselves that way. It's so hard for us to do that, but we can see that in other people. But why not us? Why not you? Why not me? Another one I wrote was, not all storms come to you in destruction. Some storms come to clear your path. And this one was huge for me. This one was huge. There was a couple of years where I was just dealing with an onslaught of negativity, death threats, people trying to dox me and threaten me and my family and my job, and people unfollowing me, friends stabbing me in the back, which made me realize they were never friends. Like, there was just so much of that for a couple of years straight. And then I realized, yeah, that felt so soul-crushing and destructive, but it cleared a more visible path for me to see where I was heading and why, and how much better my destination was going to be instead of staying where I was at, you know, and that was huge. Steve Harvey actually had a really great quote about that really resonated with me. I love a lot of his content. And then I said another one is, no one watches you harder than those who dislike you. So give them a good show. That is so indicative of my personality. I'm a very sassy person. Growing up in Massachusetts, you kind of have to be at certain times. And that little note to myself is very indicative of me being sassy. Another one I wrote says, you spend so much time in your own head. Why not make it a great place to be? And I feel like that was coming from a point where I was just filled with self-doubt. Because I remember on one specific loop that I had done, I had someone tell me, quote, I ain't shit. You know, I don't deserve to be on TV. You know, they had said like so many really nasty things to me, and it really got in my head. And I think that was the intent behind what they were doing. And I allowed that to happen, which is accountability. You know, you're accountable for a lot of stuff that a lot of people today don't hold themselves accountable for. They just play the victim. Whereas me, I understood that some things were my fault and some things were not my fault. Some things were in my control and some things were not. Allowing that person's words to affect me was on me. You know, and when you allow other people's words to negatively affect you, that's on you. Because that person can't make you feel any way that you don't allow yourself to feel. There's a certain amount of accountability there. And I think that's what I was trying to convey to myself at that time. Let me see. This one says, you don't need to tell people your side of the story, time will. I'm a firm believer in that, guys. You can't change other people's minds that don't want to be changed, okay? That's just a waste of your time. Give people a pencil. You're the only person that should have a pen to write your life story. And you have to be okay with being the villain in somebody else's story because it's their story, not yours, okay? Some people need you to be the villain because they don't possess the ability to look in the mirror and have that tough conversation with themselves to take accountability for their feelings, their actions, and how they portrayed it to others and affected others through their own insecurities, their own power struggles, their own negativity, so forth and so on. And I think that's what I was really trying to convey to myself there is, you can't change other people's minds that don't want to be changed. So just continue being a better version of who you are. And eventually time will tell your story for you. Let me see here. Another note says, you still haven't met all the people who are going to love you. This is so true. And wow, what's very interesting about that particular note is I think when I wrote that note, I think that was when I got inspired to write my upcoming children's book, The Hopeful Spider. Because, you know, some people, they treat you just by the reputation you have, even if you didn't, because a lot of people don't understand the difference between character and reputation. Character is who you truly are. Your reputation is who everybody else perceives you to be based on how they view the world, based on, you know, how they were feeling the day they met you, or based on an experience where they didn't ask to communicate with you for your point of view, and so forth and so on. A lot of people project their own insecurities onto other people, and that's why reputation is so inconsistent compared to character. Your character is who you truly are when nobody is watching, when you're alone with your thoughts. Your character is who you are whether the camera's rolling or not. That's who you truly are. Reputation is just who everyone else says you are. And so that really inspired me to write The Hopeful Spider in regards to, you know, yeah, you're born into a family, but sometimes the real meaning of family is the friends you make along the way to your journey to being your best self. And that was kind of what I was going for there. You still haven't met all the people that are going to love you. So keep striving to do the best you can, because there's people that are just waiting to cheer you on. Oh, and this one, oh, I know exactly what I was going through when I wrote this one. Before you become an overnight success, you have to become an everyday hustler. What's so funny about this is the day news broke that I was featured in Yahoo Finance, I remember I posted it on Instagram. I was so proud. I'd worked so hard for that. I mean, it's not easy. Being a Sloth was my newest book, but it actually came out first. And then my other two books I was writing while I was like in TNA, in Impact Wrestling, and making stops at WWE and during my tenure at Ring of Honor. So, you know, it really was an everyday hustle to become an overnight success. And it was so funny when I posted on Instagram, somebody that used to bully me, who says I'm a bully, but they made me feel so bad about myself during my time working with them. They ended up blocking me on Instagram when they saw my Yahoo Finance article. And I was just like, it's really funny. You know, people will claim you're an overnight success, but they don't see the everyday hustle. Or what I like to say on this podcast and my YouTube channel is that daily rent for your success. I paid a lot of daily rent before I got to see that success. It's really, really cool that I'm kind of, you know, going back on memory lane. I can, just based on these little notes to myself, I can remember like what I was going through with some of these. It's very, very interesting. So I hope some of these quotes really kind of make you resonate with, we all go through our struggles, you know, we all experience the world in billions of different ways, and sometimes the way we view things isn't the same way somebody else views the exact same situation. And you can't control anyone else. All you can do is control the person staring back at you in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, okay? That's the only person you can control and are responsible for. You know, why not make this life your best life? And that isn't always going to be easy. It isn't always going to be pretty. It isn't going to always be clear, but sometimes we need those storms to make that path clear for us. Sometimes we need to look at our imperfections and realize that scars are stories of battles we've won, you know, of wars that we have yet to be told of, and tools that we'll need to climb our way from rock bottom up into the most beautiful views of what our happiness and success and best versions of ourselves look like. That's what these quotes are telling me. And loving yourself in all your glory and all your shame, the lessons you've learned, the mistakes you've made, the triumphs you've had, the failures you've endured, they make you who you are. But don't forget, you deserve more credit than those traumas. And sometimes we need to just remember that being free with your authenticity is the most empowering thing you can do. And how do you achieve that? By being honest, by being a good human being, and by always trying to be a better version of yourself with every opportunity and every inopportunity. You know, sometimes the lack of opportunity is an opportunity. It's a, you know, a time to get creative. You know, it's a time to work on self-improvement and reflection and all these different things so that you can be the adult you needed as a child and be an exemplary member of society. I hope that these helped you the way that they helped me, and I really loved getting to share some of these notes that I wrote to myself with you guys. You know, if you would have asked me, you know, 7 years ago if I would be reading some of these notes out loud, I would have said, you're nuts. You're nuts, y'all. But it feels really great to be in that kind of position today. And that's because I worked insanely hard to go from that to be the person speaking with you today. And I want all of that for you as well. So I challenge you to go off on your journeys if you haven't already and start going after your goals. Create that plan. Do the paper exercise I challenged you guys to do. Write down 10 goals. Write down a deadline. And then write down little steps that you need to accomplish in order to achieve that goal. All right. And you'll be surprised where you are 6 months and a year from now.